On my hard days, I usually don't think about it. I just try to get to the next day and hope that the next day will be better.
My legs don't work like other people's, so I have to be in a wheelchair.
I take the needed medicine for everything that's going on in my body.
My wish is to redesign my bedroom.
My wish is to remodel my backyard. It's like that warm feeling, almost like, you know, something really good is gonna happen.
Sofia è una bambina bellissima di 12 anni che ha una malattia però terribile che si chiama sindrome di Rett. La sindrome di Rett è una strega che è arrivata e le ha rubato tutto quando aveva 1 anno e mezzo. Di contro è rimasta dentro questa malattia, una bambina stupenda e meravigliosa, che è sempre una bambina che vuole vivere e ha grandi sorrisi, grande voglia di stare con gli altri.
Essere parte di questa giornata per me è un'emozione indescrivibile, oltre che un onore poter far parte della realizzazione di un sogno, di una persona, di una bambina speciale come Sofia. Porterò con me di questa giornata la consapevolezza che i sogni che ognuno di noi ha possono essere realizzati e non bisogna mai smettere di crederci.
Vedere Sofia con i suoi amici è stato bellissimo, perché Sofia è una bimba speciale, è delicata, è fragile, e quindi io penso che per lei sia stato un concentrato di emozioni ancora più unico, proprio perché non succede spesso.
Per me Make-A-Wish è sinonimo di speranza, perché un bambino così ha la possibilità di sognare ed è una cosa meravigliosa che dona un sacco di speranza. Cosa porterò con me? Sicuramente il sorriso infinito di Sofia. Dal momento in cui abbiamo iniziato il Wish adesso non ha mai smesso di sorridere, né con il sorriso e nemmeno con gli occhi.
Allora, Make-A-Wish l'ho conosciuta io tramite un'altra mamma di Verona che ha una bambina con disabilità grave e mi ha detto, sai, c'è un'associazione che realizza i sogni dei bambini. Ho detto, non è possibile, e ho incominciato un percorso che è stato bello anche prima di questa giornata, perché finalmente qualcuno si occupava solo di Sofia e quindi ho visto uno sguardo proprio su di lei. È stato bellissimo, una sensazione incredibile.
What would you give for a child you loved to make their wish come true? To help them fight a critical illness? Just imagine what you'd do. You see, wishes are so powerful, and you can make them real. They can give a child back their childhood, even change the way they feel. Every single one of us can make the stars align, because when we come together, hope and joy will shine.
mute myself. Okay. All right. Hello. Hopefully people can hear me. I can't really tell. I tried listening, but your settings. Yeah, I know. Wait, my settings are blocking the raid. What? I don't know what that means. I don't. Okay. I know. I just gotta. I know people were coming in from Zach's stream, so thank you if you've joined. If there was an issue with the raid, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to fix that. How do I? Sorry about that. I don't know. I'm not used to streaming, and I'm not sure exactly where the setting is to allow raids. I thought that was just a thing. Yeah, Panda Slander, if you can adjust it. I don't know. But I don't know how to change it. Sorry. Alright, I'm gonna move on. I don't know. Okay, yeah. People will find their way, I guess. Alright, well, I'm PortoWulf. I'm the project lead of Empire Wastes. I'm here to kind of give you guys create a dashboard, settings, stream here. Okay, hold on, I'm gonna check this. Dashboard. Oh wait, so is the raid working now? I can't tell. Alright, I'm gonna assume that it's working. I'm gonna just move on. I'm sorry. But yeah, so I'm with Empire Waste. Empire Waste takes place in New York City, specifically Manhattan. New York is huge. You come in from the Massachusetts, so it is not a replacement game. It is just a come in, similar to how Far Harbor and Nuka World are. Thank you for the Art Deco love. I like the Art Deco myself. But yeah, we take place in a city that really hasn't been shown too much. There have been a couple of references, and every time that we do have a reference from the game, we try to keep that in our canon. So I think in 76 there's a couple of references, in Fallout 4 and then Fallout 3. I know also there's a bit of a running thing of like, oh, it's just a crater, and there is a giant crater in New York. There's actually two, but just like how they said that Washington D.C. was a crater, and I guess technically there is a crater on the White House, you can still move around on the outskirts. So that's similar vibes from where we're going. The other thing that we're trying to put a real, still no luck with it. Okay, hold on, let me go back on that. All right, let me check this. Dashboard settings. And then stream. Great. Okay, allow okay. Oh, let's try this. It should be channels. Oh, I see. Okay, undo. Um, 30. 0. Okay, save changes. Okay, I didn't realize that it had it set so that like only channels I follow and my teammates can raid me. I don't know how that works, but hopefully that works. Piano. I'm sure I can dial down piano. can't hear me. So my mic's up as high as it goes. I'm sorry. But I don't. Yeah, wait, let me check my mic itself. Volume. Alright, did that happen? Did that help at all? Okay, better. Okay, cool. So, yeah. So this is a just kind of a talking stream more so than anything else. I do have like just a video going on, but it's just gonna cycle through. But I was hoping to. Oh, there's a great thing. Thank you for the raid. Yay! Here we go. Oh boy. Woo! Hello all. Thank you for joining. I'll start again from just a pitch, I guess. So my name is PortoWulf, and I'm here to show off Empire Wastes. I am the project lead. We've been working on this. We do have a team, but right now it'll just be me on the stream, and I'm here to basically just talk about the mod, to what can be expected, where things are gonna go, and what we've been working on most recently. But of course, any questions you have, please send them in, and I'll try to get to them as best as I can. And yeah, so once again, it takes place in New York City, the island of Manhattan, which is already quite large, and then a little bit on either side of Manhattan, on either side of each river. Fun fact, the rivers are not actual rivers. They are oceanic straits because they do not, they're just ocean water, which is kind of cool. It's just a weird fact. But yeah, so I guess I can start with where we're at. And there was someone had mentioned New Jersey. There is a little bit of New Jersey, especially where the area, which is in real life called Liberty Park, as well as Liberty Island, which also a fun fact, Liberty Island belonged to New Jersey, but then the statue belonged to New York, and then eventually New York bought the island, but it's a long story short. Anyways, you can get to Liberty Island through New Jersey. So that is a small amount, but you're not going to be exploring any like Jersey cities, which ironically is called Jersey City. But you guys will be able to join in from your game. So regardless of where you are in the main Fallout 4 game, we actually allow you to just join. The mod will give you a radio broadcast. Following the radio broadcast, you will be brought to a location. I won't go into that too much because it's kind of fun to experience your first yourself. But once you get to the city, you will be in the city for a little while. It doesn't give you a way back right off the bat, but you will get a way back, of course. But you gotta do a few things first. And you actually start off in the area of the northern part of Manhattan, which is Central Park. Central Park is a big open grassy trees, but then it's surrounded by dense urban sprawl. So it's a kind of a cool introduction, especially coming in from the wastes of Massachusetts. You'll first come in, you'll see the grass and trees that you're used to, but once you leave the park, that's a little hard to come by. We have a main quest, which is actually in itself not really the most important part of the mod. The main quest in itself is just like, hey, go find this thing and then come back. However, really the bulk of the game is everything that happens in between those two endpoints. The game has several new factions, a lot of new lived in settlements, and there's even a few places that you as the player can take as your own settlement. So if you want to build up, we have Washington Park, we have part of Governor's Island, and there's also an interior that I'll keep secret for now. But like I said, the majority of the game is you just exploring the island, and we want it to kind of act organically. We have an idea of, if you start up in the north and then you go south, then there's a little bit of a progression. But of course you can make just a beeline, or you can make a zigzag, or however you want. So the different ways will give you a different experience. Some of the other focuses that we've been putting into the mod as far as the story and gameplay go is we have a lot of emphasis on themes. And actually, let me open up. I have a document which actually has all of those themes. Let me go into that. Also, another thing is the city. We don't want the city to be homogenous in just the way that the city is in real life. It's very diverse. You have the brick buildings of Alphabet City. You have the futuristic metal buildings of Midtown. You've got the short townhouses in like the Upper East Side, and a whole bunch of other areas. And even more so than just architecture, we're going to have a little bit of themes like this area might have had a lot of fire damage, and this area is close to a park and there's a lot of overgrowth, things like that. We also have but yeah, so we also have a lot of different factions that are coming, and we're keeping a lot of the factions location based, but not all of them are so. So we do have some people who are living in Bellevue Hospital, which is a hospital in New York City, and that whole area is kind of one organization, you could say, and they have relationships with nearby settlements such as Mercy, who is in Gramercy Park, or Gas House, which is another word for Alphabet City. We have other areas as well, such as Rose and K-Town. Well, actually, in the game it's called Kato, but it's Koreatown. And all of these areas have basically people who live in that area, and they will be basically representing that neighborhood. In the addition to these locations, you also have things like the Rad Pack, which is more of it's not exactly a gang, but it's not associated to one location. The Rad Pack is very similar to the Kings in Fallout New Vegas, where you'll see them in different areas. They might have a headquarters here or there, but they themselves kind of cross the area. We also do have Italian mafia-inspired groups. We have a group that was from the New England, not New England, wow. A group that was based in Chinatown, which is in the South Tip. And, a large group of organizations. So, as far as the development has been concerned, we do have the majority of the world space together, and for Green Foxel, I'm assuming I think it was either Fifth Ave or it was Park Ave, one of those two, but yeah. As far as the map is concerned, we are also trying to keep the locations the same as in real life. Of course, similar to in Fallout 4, the proportions are smaller than real life. But, if you know the difference between going from the Empire State Building to going to Grand Central Station and you follow that same direction, you will get to these locations. These major locations will be exactly where they should be, which we've been trying to focus on keeping that together. Let me just go back through the chat. Real life callbacks, yep. And then frozen pizza, that's that's a fun one. We do have, of course, custom items. We have custom weapons. We have custom consumables and wearables, all sorts of things. And Hawk, a fun fact, there is a settlement called NYU, which is spelled ENWAYU or something like that. And it is its own settlement group of people, basically. Long Island, as far as what people consider Long Island, will not be there. There is a little bit of Brooklyn and Queens just on the other side of the river, but not really the Long Island. Like, you're not going to get to Nassau County or anything like that. I don't know about Webster Hall specifically, but we do have a lot of buildings. And from the people who have tested it, who are locals, they've found that they've been able to navigate the map pretty easily. But yeah, so I'm really excited about the mod. It's definitely a labor of love. We've been working on it for quite a while. Not quite the moon grub. Although I think a long time ago, Al actually did either stream an old version of the mod or watched me do it, and he actually recognized a few places because he's like, "Oh, there's a McDonald's over there." And then as far as the metro is concerned, there's different lines. So another thing that I can talk as far as modding a game like this. So a lot of these shots that you can see in the video here are really nice long shots. But unfortunately, just due to the limitation of a computer, you can't go from like the south tip to the north end just in a straight line with no breaks. The computer will just melt. So we have to kind of like split it up. And the metro lines are actually going to be one of the easiest ways to get from section to section before you're able to fast travel. And using that, there are some areas that have, people living in the metros. You have some places that the metros are a dangerous place and you really don't want to stay there. And then you have some places that the metro is kind of just a short way of getting somewhere, but it's not really lived in, it's just utilized. And yes, it is very similar to the Fallout 3, especially around the DC area, because that allows us to still have really dense areas without killing the entire mod as a whole. Also in Fallout 4, something like Good Neighbor, where it's kind of like a walled city, we have a couple of areas like that. So you're kind of in an area, and then that would load separately from the rest of the map to allow a more detailed area, which is kind of fun. we don't do the Fallout 3 thing with the helmet of a thing, although that was a very interesting way of getting around things. And that's actually honestly one of my favorite parts of game design and just computer work in general, is just all of the back doors that you can get to a location. It's like, I want to do A, but I cannot do A the way you would expect it. But if I do B and then C and then come back around, I can still get to the same place as A. And I think that's fascinating. Right there, you saw a thing go by, Applied Cryogenics. That is a reference to Futurama, which is where Fry ends up getting frozen. And then, let's see. These are cool. That right there is a Grand Central Station, which is a large settlement on the inside. Fun fact in real life, it is radioactive, about the same as Banana, but still radioactive. And people who work there their entire lives, by the end of it, have had the equivalent radiation of 1 X-ray. Fun fact. This right here is on the lawn at Bryant Park, which is at the New York Public Library, or one of the New York Public Libraries. There's a bunch, but that's the most well-known, the big one in Midtown. Fun fact with Porto. And we also have a lot of the other older style buildings exactly where they are. But of course, a lot of these modern buildings, timelines separated and they're completely different. So don't expect to find, the lipstick building, if you know what that is, or any of these like very modern buildings. But of course, in their place, there will be a modern building. You saw the New York Police's Times Square area. Times Square is very close to where one of the nuclear explosions occurred in our mod. So there's no one living there, although there will be a lot of ghouls and whatnot. But, and yes, modern buildings can also be copyrighted, which is actually kind of annoying. And I think as recent as like the 1880s or something like that, because I'm gonna keep going off of weird fun facts. But a fun fact for the in France, in Paris, the Eiffel Tower, it in itself is not copywritten, but because the lights were installed after it was built and the lights were installed after that type of thing became a law, the lights, so a picture of it at night, is copyrighted, but during the day it's not. Weird fact. Let's see. Scale compared to real life. So the scale, I believe, is 1:3. So it's like a third the size of actual Manhattan. So some of the buildings are a little squished, but everything is still there. So if you ever had like a street that you're looking for, the street will exist. Whether the building you want exists, I can't say. But at least all the roadmap is exactly the way it was. Jingle for the fun facts. Yes. Yeah, and I really enjoy doing this, and I've been working with a really amazing team. For 3D, I have one person specifically, Just Reds. He is amazing at what he does. He really has the correct eye and also the correct like mentality for modding, because the way that he goes about it, you can tell certain people like just do it because like it needs to get done. Well, he really puts a lot of pride and effort into his 3D stuff. Yeah, Paris does have a lot of weird stuff. Yeah, I tried to keep the scale at least like consistent through it, but yeah, very much like the Division, where it was like this area is very close to it and this not at all, which was very confusing for me trying to navigate the city in the game, but it was quite fun. There are rats. We do have large city rats. We also have larger than usual roaches. We also have a very unique rat, which you will find in a specific location that I'm not going to say quite yet. But the model is actually several rats tied together with their tails, which is the urban myth of the king rat, or the rat king, or whatever it was. But it's a specialty thing. So it's not going to be everywhere, but you'll have a special enemy to fight. Similarly, we have a shit ton of roaches everywhere because, that is New York. You can't have without it. We also have pigeons, rad pigeons, so they have a little bit of molting going on, some kind of fun effects on their skin and on their feathers. Pop rocks, yes. Pop rocks was actually added in because, or technically I think they're snap rocks. They were added in because they were in one of the original games. I believe it was Fallout 2, if I'm not completely mistaken. And we have actually put in quite a few references to Fallout 1 and 2 in and they're really obscure things, but still kind of fun to exist. We also have several references to other mod projects. I'm a big proponent of helping other mods do what they need to do. I've been doing a lot of level work for Fallout London. I did some from Fallout Miami. I did some for Fallout Cascadia. And in response, they've helped us with a few things, and for those who accepted it, I also put references towards those locations because, of course, it's New York. We're not a monolith, but we are, we're connected. So, and one of the things that I thought was kind of cool was there was a Fallout 2 mod called Fallout Sonora, if you've ever seen it, or it might be Fallout 1, but it's one of the OG games, and Fallout Sonora, and they had a Fritos equivalent called Banditos chips, and we referenced them by adding Banditos chips to our roster of food. Let me see. Oh yeah, Captain Coots tried helping design the helical building, which I'll get to that in a second. But he tried helping, and it did become a little bit too big, but it kind of worked out again. But you're always welcome to help. You've got your DMs with me, so just reach out, and I'd be more than happy to have you. And a cool thing was a lot of the buildings that are existing in the game are what I like to consider like an alternate timeline, because this is an alternate timeline, something after World War II where we really split with our technologies and whatnot. The building that was supposed to be at Grand Central Station, not the limestone building, but the building right behind it, in our life became the MetLife building. And also there was plans for it to be even bigger than it was and more ornate, but then they cut off the top, and then they're just like, okay, we're done. But one of the options was actually by, I believe it was I.M. Pei, who also created the pyramids at the Louvre and a few other locations. And he made a double helix building, and it was beautiful, but of course it never came to fruition. But in our world, instead of the MetLife building, we have that building. So that's kind of cool. Okay. Oh. Hi, Al. I'm going to be going to you at the end of this because Al will be presenting Capital Waste Project, which is really cool. Yeah, he made it to scale. A movable home. That's actually kind of an interesting concept. I know Comrade Vanya, he had a submarine mod, which is ultimately a movable player home, which is really cool. I got to help him a little bit. That was cool. Yeah, any type of help you would like to give, that would be wonderful. Welcome in, White Collar. So yeah, you can see the Helix building right there. What else can we talk about? So one of the you scared me, Brittany. We got a lot of work went into kind of the pre-planning before we went into things, and we a lot of things, of course, change over time, which is kind of cool. Unique armor and weapons. Yes, we do have unique armor and weapons. We also just have unique clothing, so not necessarily just the like pads and whatnot, but we do have like a New York Yankees baseball outfit. We have a few job-related things. There's a area of the map which in the real world is the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and in our game is called Navyard. It's combination of Navy Yard, and there you can get a whole bunch of custom costumes, custom armor, and things that you would find as part of the Navy, especially the Navy in this universe. In addition to that, as far as weapons are concerned, it's actually very heavily melee focused, at least for now. It's a lot of things that are repurposed from around the city. So we have something where it's like, oh, you take a signpost and you can stab someone with a signpost, or oh, you picked up a New York souvenir of like a metal or ceramic thing of the Empire State Building or the Statue of Liberty, and now you're using that as a club. So that's kind of fun. And there are, of course, ranged weapons as well. We have a couple of laser weapons that are special. We have one that you can find in one of the hospitals. It's called the CAT scan laser, which is a fun little thing to come across. And then let's see, Times Square is there. You might have seen a couple of images from here. This right there, that's the library. And yeah, Dunwich. So there is one like very specific location in the city that is based not necessarily to the Dunwich brothers, but to that mythos. And that's like a very direct reference. And then there's a few kind of more indirect references that you'll find around, but you'll kind of have to search for it. Rat roach gun. Oh my god. But yeah. So let's see what else. So the south tip to go over one thing is gone. That is our giant crater in the ground, because it was bordering the ocean and the Hudson River. It's now flooded, so it's just a flooded crater. So basically everything from City Hall downwards is just gone, which does include things like Battery Park, the stock exchange, as well as basically anything in that south tip. However, once you get out of there, it's of course extremely irradiated, and then you have Chinatown. Chinatown is extremely irradiated and inhabited now by ghouls. There is a Chinese ghoul faction that you can come and meet up and work with. The Chinese faction is very, I don't want to say it's xenophobic, but everybody else is xenophobic against them because they're ghouls and they're Chinese, the two things that people tend to hate in Fallout. And of course, to no fault of their own, they lived here first, but they are something that you can choose to side with, or you can choose to be a dick and you can not side with them. In addition to them, we also have actually, you know what, let me do this. Let me bring up a group so I can see it without having to pull out my head. Yeah, so that's Gui Cheng. That's the Chinese school group. And Gui Cheng is roughly translated, I'm pronouncing it wrong, I'm sure, but it's like a reference to Zombie Town. So instead of Chinatown, it's Ghoul Town. Let's see. Do the Chinese section have reference to the... Yes, there is references to the Chinese internment camps. There's also... there's a scene somewhere in this video where you'll see some graffiti go by, and a couple of the graffiti being pre-war say things like Chinese go home or the number 99066, which in this universe is, and this is an established lore, was the executive thing from the president to send them to the internment camps, which was, of course, a reference to the actual executive order 9066, which sent the Japanese to the internment camps. So you'll see some of that. You'll also read pre-war terminals about Chinatown. Chinatown in the pre-war was actually under in the process of being evacuated, or not, I guess not evacuated, forcefully relocated. But of course, not everybody left. And a lot of the people who did leave and who ended up surviving came back. So a lot of that will be referenced in the game. So, Mr. Alex Reynolds, yes. So when you do enter, you will end up losing access to a lot of your weaponry and armor. You are given basically very base stuff because I won't get into it right now. It's a little story specific, but yes, you can expect to basically have your things removed. Of course, it will be given back to you, but at least when you first enter the city, it will be removed. Compared to Fallout 4, I don't have an actual comparison to the map size because the weird thing is that Fallout 4 is a square and Fallout Empire Waste is a rectangle. So it might be longer, but it's a lot thinner, and I don't know. I can count squares. I can do that another time and make some type of announcement, but that is a good question. Vaults for Sonic Fill. Yes, we do have vaults. There are at least 3 planned vaults. One's already in construction. Oh, no, not 3, 5. And each of them having their own unique experiment. None of them were control vaults, although one of them was more or less just a visual vault. It wasn't really meant to be lived in. It was basically meant to get people excited in the idea of vaults. Kind of similar to the one that you saw in Fallout 3, where you go to the museum and there's like a vault in the museum, but it's not really a vault kind of thing. There's one of those. Ooh, a chopped cheese. You know, we don't have that, but now I want one. Trump Tower is also not in there. Too modern. Actually, Chuds, yes, actually there is a reference to that. Things coming out of the sewer. Quite disgusting. That'll be kind of fun to see. And welcome in fair games. Most proud of. Ooh. You know, ironically, I know it's not probably going to be what you wanted as an answer, but things like this, where, you know, not necessarily this mod, but just Bethesda modding in general, having raised funds, was really, really important. And I'm really proud to be part of that. I know Kenny, who's been the organizer for all of this, he's a living saint, to be honest. Like, he's not going to agree to that, but he is. And just being a part of that, I think that's my proudest moment. Saw TV shows. Yep, we do have a lot of references to different TV series and movies. I think like the Chuds, you can see there. There's also a couple of references to like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a few other things like that. One of the more direct things in the game is the Gramercy Riffs, or Ruffs rather, which is based off of the Gramercy Riffs, which was a gang in not Escape from New York, which the Warriors, which was another post-apocalyptic, I think, universe. And then there is the Ghostbusters firehouse. Inaccessible, but you can at least see the exterior of it, just to be like, hey, I know that place, because in real life that's actually a place, so it works out. Let's see. Yes, thank God Fallout 5 is 10 years away, because if they came out today and said, hey, Fallout 5 is going to take place in New York and it's coming out in a year, I would cry. I would just cry. Let's see, what else do we got? So there is a big like 80s dystopia influence in a lot of the areas, not the whole thing, but in a lot of the areas we got the Warriors, Escape from New York, you know, the old like RoboCop and things like that, just different things where you got lots of different greebles, it's dark, it's steamy, there's a lot of damaged but still standing buildings, lots of raiders, anarchy, dirty, gritty, vandalized, blah, blah, blah. So that'll be kind of fun. And then on the flip side, there's that, and that's kind of like weirdly on the east, and then on the west side, there is a bit of like the cyberpunk retro future with lots of bright lights, although nowadays they're not really going to all be working. But you get the neon and like the really tall like advertisements and things like that. So different areas are going to have different influences, and you'll be able to see them as they come. Green. Yes, neon 80 vibes. Yeah, just got there. Discord. Yes, we do have a Discord. Let me actually bring out a link, because people, of course, are always welcome into the Discord. That's the wrong Discord. Let me get the right one. New members. Make a link. Make a link. Copy. Alright, I'm going to put a link in chat if anyone wants to join it, and I'll even, there we go. Okay, let's see what else. We got the Duke of New York. Is there any references that you guys are looking for in particular? Something that you'd like to see or hope to see, whether it be like a reference or a location or anything like that. Maybe I can be able to talk about that if you have anything. We got a bunch of people joining. Hello, everybody. When I get off of this, I will give everybody, of course, a proper welcome. But thank you for joining us. I appreciate that, and I hope to be able to share a lot with you guys. A Friends reference. Yes, we do actually have at least 2 Friends references in the game. One being people who died in the bombs, with a couch in a spiral staircase. Of course, anybody who remembers Pivot will remember that. And then there's a kind of more of a Wasteland Wonders kind of thing, where there's a very specific conversation that happens, and you'll hear from the theme song, the clap, 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 clap. Of course, in the conversation, they say a line from that. So yes, there will be some Friends. Daredevil and Avengers, I don't have like the Avengers Tower. However, for Daredevil in Hell's Kitchen, there is references to things like the Devil of Hell's Kitchen, things like that. But because a lot of that is more modern, I don't really have that. But there you'll find some things. Vampires on Wall Street. Well, thankfully, Wall Street was the direct hit of the bomb, so all the vampires are dead. Yeah. Oh, definitely play Fallout. And if you get to play Fallout, definitely play this mod once it comes out. I'm very glad. And yes, for the size comparisons to Epicist Gamer, it is about 1:3, and it's but it is proportional, like north, south to east, west. So that'll be kind of fun. Lots of Easter eggs. Tall buildings is performance a concern. So, ironically, for TBM Boy, ironically, having tall buildings tend to actually make it easier because the tall buildings block your view. When you have a lot of low or like gradually rising buildings, you can see really far out, and then that's what actually hurts your performance. And in the addition to having a lot of these tall buildings, I've got a lot of them. You'll see some in the video that are like at an angle or fully fallen over, and that again blocks your view for a long distance, which is a little way of cheating, of being able to tell the computer, hey, you don't have to get everything behind this building done, which is actually kind of cool. The Fallout 76 content, yes, anything that is currently canon, or let's say a canon as of like a year ago, has already been definitely included. And then things that are coming out now, we're trying our best to connect everything that's been said or whatnot. But of course, if anything fully contradicts something that we're doing, we'll find a way around it, or we'll just have to say, well, they were wrong. I don't know. Hey, Vuzmar. Yeah, welcome in. Bakeries. We do have bakeries. We have salons and nails. We have bagel shops. That's a big thing. Bodegas. All sorts of different cuisines. We have sushi restaurants, Chinese restaurants, Persian food, Mexican food. And with the Mexican food, we get to have a little fun because, we invaded Mexico. So it's American food now. But that's kind of fun. So yes, we have lots of different stores and whatnots. And yes, with the isolated zones was another thing. Brooklyn Bridge. The Brooklyn Bridge is, the pillars are there, but the bridge is out. There is only one bridge that actually connects from east to west across the East River. And it is the Williamsburg Bridge, which in this universe is just called Berg Bridge. And the east and west halves are actually controlled by two different groups of people. And the reason that's important is because you have to end up getting into Queens to get to, or rather Brooklyn, to get to Brooklyn Navy Yard or Navyard. So you'll have to be able to cross the bridge, but they don't just let anyone in. So that will be part of your story of how do you find your way across the bridge. You can fight your way across, you could buy your way across, you could earn a favor. There's a whole bunch of different ways of getting across that bridge, but it won't just be walking. So that'd be kind of cool. Companion characters. Yes, we do have companion characters, just a handful. They will be fully voiced, full story. They'll have their own quest. We've already got about 2 of them that are fully in, and then the others are in progress. So that'll be fun. Bagels. Yes. Sushi. Yes. Ooh, jazz clubs. I don't think I have anything specifically that is a jazz club, but that could definitely be a thing to consider when we're doing the interiors. So that'll be kind of cool. Collapsed buildings. Yes, there are lots of collapsed buildings, especially in the southern areas and the western areas. Those tend to be much more collapsed. Some of them still explorable, even though they're all off to the side. But most of them, of course, to the northeast are less so. Let's see. Voice actors. So voice actors, we are, of course, looking for voice actors, although I will put a caveat of voice acting is one of the last steps of the mod because we need to have a physical world for these characters, and we have to then make the physical characters, and we have to write their lines, and then we do the voice acting. So definitely join the Discord, and if you would like to apply as a voice actor, you can do so. I will say though that right now the voice acting is not as active because we are getting to that point, but there will be a point where we will need voice actors. Can you kiss him? Yeah. Well, you can romance him. Sorry about the auto mod for that. A leaning tower of Manhattan. Yeah, there's a couple of leaning towers. Swing dancing. Oh, that'd be fun. Well, thank you, Vemus. Yeah, we've actually been around for a while now. Long story was we started before the pandemic, and then right up where the pandemic came in, we realized that the way we were making the mod was wrong. And we hit an internal limit, and we weren't even like 25% of the way done, and we're like, crap, we can't fix this. So instead of manually fixing it, which would have taken forever, we just scrapped the whole thing and we restarted. And to be honest, that was the best decision we could have made. I've done a few posts on social media where it's like, oh, look at this location that we made in 2019 and then made again in 2022. And the difference is night and day. It's so much better now. So I'm actually kind of, I don't want to say happy. I cried. But it was worth it. It was worth it in the end to have a product that I'm happy with. So that's good. Bread consultants. Well, we do need bagel consultants. Yeah. Twin Towers. Twin Towers are not in the mod for 3 reasons. First reason, the the towers were built in the 1970s, which is way after the divergence. So while there might be a a tower or something there that might not look like the Twin Towers or the Freedom Tower, we don't have a reference to that. The second reason being cultural sensitivity. We don't really want to show that destroyed, having already been destroyed. So we're going to just kind of ignore that. And then the third reason is the location is actually inside a large crater. So there's no ruins or anything, but there's also no building. So there will not be the Twin Towers, Freedom Tower, anything like that. We don't know a published date. We are still kind of too far out. There is kind of a tipping point where we can tell, like, okay, these are the things that are done, and then this is the equivalent time to do. But as of right now, we don't have a date, sadly. But as soon as we do, you best know we will be shouting it from the rooftops. The base game worlds, Commonwealth. Yes. So the base game, like I said earlier, you actually come from the base game, so you will be continuing your adventure as the sole survivor. When you come to this little side note, you're actually not going to be referred to as the sole survivor because no one knows what the hell Vault 111 is. Instead, you will be called the tourist as you are coming from out of town and you do not belong here. Get out of my way. But yes, your companions will not be able to come in for the initial part of the quest. Only that will be explained kind of in the quest itself, but later on you can definitely bring any of your companions here, and then any companions who live here can also then go to New York, to Manhattan, God damn it, to Massachusetts. One of them will not like going to Massachusetts, but they will all go with you, as well as all of the weapons and armors are we make sure that none of them are like overpowered or anything like that. And it should be something able to bring back and not feel like this is a complete separation from the main game. We do want to keep it very Fallout 4E, feeling like it belongs in the game. Technical debt. Sometimes probably... Yes. Yeah. Yes, and, the second time you do it, it's easier because you don't have to come up with it the first time, and you're like, okay, I know how to do this, and it's a lot quicker. Even sometimes, like, I'll be working on something and then the modding system crashes and I've lost some progress. So it's like, okay, well, it sucks, but now I know what I'm doing and I can do it a little bit faster and a little bit better, so that's good. What went wrong? Okay, so for Epicus Gamer, the thing that went wrong is I naively was like, oh, I want to use like all the DLCs because everybody's going to have the DLCs. But the thing that ends up happening is the game editor has a maximum number of references. So every item, every tree, every wall of a building is one reference. And once you reach the max reference number, you can't add any more, no matter what you do. And the thing was that I needed all of the DLCs, and the DLCs actually took away from that max number, which just screwed me over. And it was one of those things too where I was like, I had to reach out to some of the other teams. I was like, hey, why is this happening? And then they pointed it out to me, and so sadly, I learned my lesson, and now we got this. So the game itself does not require any DLC because I do not use any of the DLC in it. Although we do like reference things like, oh, Nuka World exists, kind of thing. But yeah, so that was our big thing. But like Green Foxel said, it was worth it in the end. Slocum's Joe. Slocum's Joe exists in Manhattan, although there are other coffee shops that are a little bit more popular in Manhattan. You will see them. Another tourist, yes. New York. And yeah, kind of like how Pittsburgh. Yep. Does the Soul Survivor have a beef with New York? So yes, there are some sarcastic Go Sox dialogue options, as well as like I think one of them was like, oh great, like all these bad things are happening, and now I have to deal with a New Yorker. But to be fair, there are some people who give you a hard time for being from Massachusetts. As someone who was born and raised in Massachusetts and then moved to the New York area later in life, I can attest to a lot of this. The voice protagonist. So we're kind of debating this. So one of the things about the voice protagonist is we have three options. One option, we do it where we rehash the existing lines. It's doable, but not the best. It's also kind of weirdly like moral gray area, but not as bad as the other option of using a AI bot, which we will not be using. We will not be using any AI voice chat. That's not allowed. The third option is to record it ourselves, and then because of we're not the voice actors of Nate and Nora, it's going to sound different. So we have two options that we're thinking of. We haven't really made a decision yet. The first option is to just have the character be silent, a viable solution. Or the second version is using, again, like an AI bot, but this time it's not a voice, it's just like a robotic voice. And the reason is because at one point you will be having a bomb collar on your neck. This is a thing that keeps you in Manhattan for a certain amount of time, and that will be basically what's talking for you. It will be your voice box. So that's another option, depending on how we like or dislike the silent protagonist. So we'll kind of go from there as we go. Seinfeld. We don't have Seinfeld that I'm aware of. We might have, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. And yes, the size comparison is not a square. Tourist. You can't. So once the so there's an event that happens that brings you to Manhattan. Once you're in Manhattan, for the immediate future, you cannot leave, and that's like your main quest, is to be able to get back home. And in order to do that, you have to just go to a place, grab a thing, and then come back. And then the bulk of it is what happens in between those times. But once you come back, then that basically opens your path back to Massachusetts. Also, I just saw the time. We are starting to run out of time, so let me just quickly go through chat. Comparison, yeah. Max, oh yeah, Max reference. Honestly, as far as not using the DLC assets, I haven't really come into much trouble. On a few occasions, we've been able to basically reproduce what they had in the DLC as far as like certain items. But also it makes it easier because now you're not suddenly seeing a Nuka World signage randomly in Manhattan, so that kind of works out. Coney Island. So Coney Island, we wanted to include at one point, but we think it might be outside the map. Dialogue, yeah, exactly. Okay. All right. Well, it is 4:59. The next thing starts at 5. So if you have any last-minute questions, please ask now. Otherwise, we're going to raid Al Chessbreach, who is going to be presenting the Capital Wasteland project, which is another project I'm really excited for. But yeah, so brilliant. Thank you. And I really appreciate everybody who joined in for this, and I look forward to what Al brings in our next one. So let me switch over to the raid train. And then let me learn how to raid. I think. Is that how I don't know. I think that's it. I don't think that was it. Raid. Oh, okay, I see. / sorry. Raid. There we go. Okay, cool. There we go. We're going in 10 seconds.